Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Laurentian Valley Council and Committee for December 3rd. I'll start off. Dean, call to order.
Who in a seconder, please?
Jennifer and Betty.
Moved by Councillor Gauthier, second by Councillor King, that the council and committee meeting of December 3rd, 2024 be called to order at 5:30.
All in favor? Carried. Roll call, please.
Mayor Bennett.
Present.
Reeve Watt.
Present.
Councillor Gauthier.
Present.
Councillor Hewitt.
Present.
Councillor Hughley.
Present.
Councillor King.
Present.
Councillor Wren. All members present except for Councillor Wren.
Thank you. Approval of the agenda. Wendy and Brian.
Moved by Councillor Hewitt, second by Councillor Hughley, that the agenda of the council and committee meeting of December 3rd, 2024 be approved as presented.
All in favor? Carried. Disclosure of recurring interest, seeing none. No delegations. Motion, open budget public meeting. Betty and Brian.
Sorry, what would you say, Betty?
Betty.
Moved by Councillor King, second by Councillor Hughley, that the council of Township of Laurentian Valley hereby declare a public meeting open at 5:30 to discuss 2025 operating and capital budgets.
All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to turn it over to Sean. We're going to let Sean go through the budget. We will then take anybody that's online, any questions, then to the public in council chambers, and then to council. But if council has any questions as we're going through the budget period, put your hand up and Sean will answer. Okay, Sean.
Okay, thank you. I just want to confirm that Sean online, that it's now shared. Okay, thank you. And we're good there. Okay. Okay, so thank you, Mr. Mayor, and we will get moving. The first slide really is just I'm outlining our mission and vision, and I think it's a good grounding document to understand how staff and council have approached the budget. So our mission is we strive to deliver to our residents an elevated quality of life and high sense of community while ensuring businesses have an opportunity to grow with us. And we will be a connected community by linking our region with physical and collective pathways, forging partnerships that broaden and expand our services, facilitate unique social opportunities for all. So the connected community, elevated quality of life and high sense of community are things that we went through our strategic planning process that were themes, and we think that this budget delivers on those. The schedule that we've gone through, so on November 5th, we did bring a report to council for proposed user fees. On November 19th, we had a special meeting that was a pretty heavy lifting day where we had water, wastewater, and general operating and capital for all budgets, so really a fulsome picture. We came back on November 26th for a second deliberation, and now we're at December 3rd, where we've doing a presentation for public comment, and then we intend to pass our budget bylaws on December 17th. One thing to keep in mind is when we speak to how much is a 1% levy increase, it's 68,318. There's sometimes throughout the presentation where I'll use percentage points, and if I'm relating it to the levy, and I'll clarify that, that 1 percentage point is 68,318. This slide I do like to show almost in every budget or tax rate or year-end process. And this is just for everyone to understand that when we send out our tax bills, we don't keep every penny that we collect. The township keeps about 35%, and that's that 35% along with the policing, 8.7% is what we're speaking about today in this budget. We have the county of Renfrew, though. We have to basically collect from our residents and then send to the county of 36%. And then for the school boards, about 20.4%. So just to reiterate that we don't keep every dollar that we invoice for. So a summary of the budget as presented, and we did get news today from the province, so some of this has changed, and that's why there's an amended version. But the summary as presented now is a tax levy increase of $391,745. This equates to a $59 increase per median assessed home. There's a water increase of $129 per residential unit, a wastewater increase of $199 per median assessed home. We have $2.3 million of capital investment, which equates to $585 per household. And then we have a net increase in capital reserves of $109,000 with an estimated ending capital reserve balance at the end of 2025 of $663,773. So a summary of that to help visualize it is our waste collection, it'll be $220, and that's an increase of $0, so that hasn't changed. The water bill for residential unit would be $960, which is an increase of $129. Our wastewater for the median assessed home, which to clarify is $244,000 of assessed value, is $924, so an increase of $199. And then for our tax portion of everything, it's a total of $1,274 for the median assessed home, which is an increase of $59. So for somebody that is a user of all of these services, their annual bill would be $3,378 for an increase of $387. But just to also clarify, if you're not a user of wastewater and water, you're not seeing an increase in waste collection, you're seeing a $59 increase in tax per median assessed home. So first section, we'll go through user fees. So the next slide, please. So just the Municipal Act outlines that we can collect user fees for some services that we provide. And we have a schedule of user fees. And then there'd be a little hard to see on the presentation, but it is posted for people to zoom in and whatnot. But if we can go to the next slide, please. So development charges. This isn't a user fee, but I've included it in this section because we're talking about external charges. We have increased 3.81%, and this is, as per the development charge bylaw, we're able to increase based on the non-residential building index from StatsCan. So that's something that we've done, we did last year, and we did again this year, and that is essentially to keep up with the development charges are meant to pay for future development. And if we don't increase them, we're losing that space because every year to replace those assets that these are meant to replace, that increases. So this is prudent to do. So Schedule A, this one, there's only change, it's a very small one, and it has to do with how we charge for the county map. If somebody wanted a county map from $3 to $5, and that's really just for cost recovery. Schedule B, animal control fees, we have not recommended change anything here. Schedule C, fire fees, we have not proposed to make any changes here. Schedule D, building permit fees, we do have a slight increase. It works out in some areas about 4 cents per square foot, and in others about 5 cents per square foot. And this is, we haven't increased for about a year and a half now. So I'm going to get my dates a little bit mixed up, but I want to say in 2020, middle of 2023, we made an increase that hadn't been done in quite some time. We left them the same way last year at budget time. And so we're basically increasing after a year and a half of keeping the same fee.
Backing up a couple to the Schedule A there was nothing under fire. You had nothing for a recreational burning permit or open air permit. There was blank on both of those. And
I don't know, you're suggesting that we do have a fee for that, but it's a yearly fee?
okay, it's just blank on the schedule.
That we can look at.
It's on page 11.
Talk to the chief, and we'll ensure that is the correct fee. I think I'm not sure who's operating that, but I think we're going to where Councillor Hewley is speaking to is Schedule C. So here, we can discuss that and ensure that that is correct. I mean, that's the same schedule fees that we had for 4 and 5, so I'd have to discuss with you, Dean, and the fire chief.
I have a fee on mine. Open air burning permit is 20, fire permit.
Recreational fire permit.
Recreational burning permit and open air is empty.
No?
No, it's on
Okay,
there.
okay, might be,
A glitch on it.
mine's empty, but.
It must be yours because it's on mine too.
You got the lucky one. I'm not sure. So, okay, we've clarified. Thank you, Councillor Coach Keel. Okay, I'm not certain where it was, but we'll go, we're on building fees. Okay, so we'll move on from there. Schedule E, there were some changes to the, I'm calling them mobile food vendors, but it's business licensing. It's got a couple legacy names. But we are proposing about a $5 increase for the yearly permit if they're doing it, sorry, for the monthly permit if they're doing it by month. This is to keep up with cost recovery of our staff that are, processing these fees, and to still keep it in line where users will, still be incentivized to get it. If it's too expensive, they obviously would just not do it, and then we'd be chasing. So this is fair middle ground. And Schedule F, planning fees. This is about a 1.6% increase across the board, and that is to keep up with the 1.6% increase with staff time, like staff wages for time. So the planner has recommended those fees. Next slide, please. We're going to go through wages and benefits. Here's a slide on the Consumer Price Index history. We do have a policy that we amended this calendar year for 2025. Typically, we were increasing the wage grid with October CPI, but because we've moved up when the budget gets presented, it really puts us behind if we wait for that number. So we use September CPI. This year it was 1.6%. So that's what we've recommended. Again, go to the next slide, please. So full-time equivalents from 24 to 25, it is increased slightly by 0.5 FTEs. That's what we call full-time equivalents. This is really in recreation. We have a slight increase due to the use of a student. So that 0.3 is for a summer student that we're allocating there. And we, just for information purposes, we were covered for a lot of that cost in 2024 through a grant, and we're expecting to offset some of that cost again in 25 with a grant. And then the other increase is on protection to persons and property, a 0.2% increase, and that's in our fire with our volunteer fire force. We found this year they've been extremely busy, and so we've increased our hours in that part of the budget, which equates to about another extra 0.2 FTE. So we haven't added a full-time staff, and there's no areas really where we've increased the complement other than a student that we have to offset through a grant, and then we've increased our fire hours based on this year. Now, we didn't go right to where it's at this year. We kind of took a middle ground. Hopefully this year was an off year where it just, it wasn't working for us in the right direction, but hopefully next year comes back to some normalcy. What does all this mean? Well, this difference is about a $61,520 difference, which equates to 0.97 of a levy increase. Some of the drivers are we have seen a little bit of a decrease in our WSIB rate. Now there's this big news going through that there's a big rebate coming on WSIB. We haven't received any official status on that. Then we have the 0.5 FTE increase, which is about $35,000. And then we have employee incremental steps in the grid, which equates to about $35,000. So that's how that $60,000 increase is calculated. Again, the next slide is just a little small to see, but that would be our proposed grid with the changes from 1.6% from 2024. And then Schedule B are some of the other aspects to this, and this will come as a full bylaw at the next meeting. We're going to go through debt. The key drivers of debt in our budget are we are anticipating having one payment for Roy Street West, which is a pretty large project that we've completed and have debt financed, and that's estimated to be about $140,000. We will now have two payments for the Freightliner tandem plow truck. In 2024, we only had one payment, so now we'll get into having two per year. So that's an increase of about $34,000. And then we don't have any payments anticipated for Robinson Road, which I'll speak to as a capital project later on. But we are recommending that we, at this point, would debt finance that project, but it doesn't affect this year's budget in terms of taxing to repay, because that project won't be rolled into a debenture, with the first payment likely coming in 2026. So how does this affect our budget? There's a very slight decrease in corporate management part of the budget with debt, and that's just to the nature of that debenture. It's called a serial debenture, and the interest payment decreases over time. The principal payment stays the same. So I believe that comes off the books this year or next year. There's not very much left on that debenture. In Public Works, we have about a $91,000 increase. That's due to Roy Street West, and that's the same for water and wastewater. Those respective increases of $39,600 and $16,328. So on the whole budget, putting everything together, we have an increase in our debt payments of $146,000. When we speak about debt, and if we're going to take on new debt, we have to calculate our estimated annual repayment limit. Our 2024 annual repayment limit was 1.9 million, and then we add in or take out, what we're going to add that hasn't been calculated in that 1.9, which is the 2024 tandem plow payment of 63,000. A full year of Roy Street was 277, and then estimated what our annual repayment on Robinson Road might be, and that gives us an estimated amount of how much debt we could repay before exceeding what the Ministry of, I'm not sure if it's Finance or Municipal Affairs and Housing or a combination thereof, say that we're allowed to have in any given year. And to put that in perspective, if we were to take on a 5-year debenture, we could add about $7 million. If we have a $7 million project, if it was a 10-year debenture, about $12.5 million project, and you can see up to 20-year, if it was a 20-year debenture, we have a $20 million project. So waste collection, through this section, really there is no change to our budget. We are estimating a budget of waste collection of $889,000, and this is collected, or the revenue we derive here is collected on the tax bill, and this pays for curbside pickup, and that collection fee, like I'd spoken before, is recommended to stay at $220. The next section is water. We do have a total budget increase here, about $158,000. So a total budget of $914,200. Labor is slightly increased of $1,300. You see that debt repayment is double of last year. But the key, or the biggest driver of this budget is our agreement with the City of Pembroke, where we buy water from them. We do have we've more data on how much we're actually consuming, so we can better accurately budget. And then we are seeing an increase in our fee that we're paying the City of Pembroke. We are not recommending transferring anything to reserves, so we're not saying to increase the fee to put money away into reserves. We're basically having the fee to pay for what we're using this year. We have capital of $85,000 that we are recommending paying through the water rate. The capital projects we're speaking to is an $80,000 project for chamber upgrades. This will update the infrastructure in 2 of our 8 chambers, and this is to comply with our City of Pembroke agreement. We will in the future have to upgrade the other 6, but we'll do that incrementally. And then we have a $5,000 item here. Now we've done some significant projects, and I believe is more than just Roy Street that we're looking to get put onto our maps. That will help with locates and just to get us up to date. So this is the recommended fees that we would charge. So for a residential unit, we would go to $960, which is an increase of $129. And then you can see if you're a metered user, it would be $2.08, sorry, for your first 30,000 gallons, 1.77 for your next 270,000 gallons, and then $1.54 per gallon for your next 300,000 gallons. So across the board for our water fee, it's a 15.5% increase. Moving on to wastewater. Again, this budget is increased. So we've increased the total budget about $171,000. Labor here is the same. Our debt repayment has increased, but again, the driver is our City of Pembroke agreement that we have with our, really again with data on the amount that we're using or the amount that's getting treated, plus the increase in the fee, which is derived from the water wastewater rate study. We do have $85,000 of capital, so similar to water, and we are recommending transferring $150,000 from reserves. This would still leave an estimated ending reserve balance of $912,000 in wastewater, and that transfer from reserves is to help offset the increase for the end user. The capital that we're recommending doing is a $30,000 force main inspection, Indian Court lift station upgrades, and then again to the map book updates. For our rate, so it's not a flat rate that we use for wastewater, it's more of a tax rate and it's based off as assessment. In 2024, the user on the median assessed home would pay about $724. In 2025, it's about $923. So it's an increase of $199, which is a 24.69% increase. And again, that $150,000 that we were recommending to pull from reserves drastically helps this rate. It was originally presented, I believe, a 38% increase. So that's something that moving forward, we'll have to each year likely look at to see, what that's going to be. But we're recommending for 2025 anyway to be about a 24.69% increase. How does that compare to other municipalities? Our neighbors? No, we don't have updated 2025 rates. I do believe Whitewater has passed, or they're passing their budget tomorrow. I did look at their rates, but I didn't bother putting them in just to keep this consistent. But you can see that our proposed is the third column in, how it compares to this year, and then how it compares to our neighbors. And I think one thing I won't spend too much time on this slide, but until we get the other municipalities' rates, there's really no point for us to really be in comparison here. I will say with our direct neighbor, the City of Pembroke, in 2024, I think we were within a $60. So I would anticipate, because of our wastewater and water agreement, that they would see similar increases in water and wastewater that we would, but I can't speak for them. Moving on to our operating budget. In waste management, there's really no change in this part of the budget. We receive royalties, and this part of our budget actually helps us in terms of offsetting our tax rate to the tune of about $350,000, so or $349,000. So there's no real change recommended here from 2024. In general government, so that's council, corporate management, administration, and information technology. Under council and corporate management, council, there's an increase of $4,000. That's mainly driven by the 1.6% increase in wages, or the increase in the wage grid. In corporate management, there's a very slight decrease. So these are pretty immaterial effects on our budget. Administration and information technology. Administration, there's a $45,000 increase. $24,000 of that is from the wages moving. We do have a line item for health and safety, but this is covered through the health and safety grant. And we have a records management line item that we've added, and this is to get in compliance with our records management. In information technology, there's a slight increase here of $10,000. This is really made up of all of the different subscriptions and softwares that we use, the annual inflationary increase that we're seeing with those, and also with our IT security. So when we look at general government's effect on the tax levy, we need to collect about $1.6 million of taxes to cover general government, so to cover those areas of service. Protection of persons and property. So this is a pretty substantive area. We have fire, building, police, lottery, bylaw, emergency management, and animal control. So those are the service areas that make this section up. In fire, we do have an increase to the total budget of about $32,000. $29,000 is due to our increase in wages. So not only has our grid moved 1.6%, but we've also increased the amount of expected hours to 3,600. This is up up 400 expected hours when we budgeted in 2024. So in 24, we budgeted for 3,200, we're budgeting for 36. And I believe when we looked at this a few weeks ago, so not totally up to date, we were in, I think, almost the 4,000 hour range through our payroll software. So we didn't recommend moving that high. Obviously, we're hoping that it kind of tapers back down. And there's a $3,000 increase to some tools and equipment, and then a slight increase to repairs and maintenance. In our building, here we're recommending an increase of $2,000 in revenue. This is we're seeing, we think if we increase our building fee, we would see an increase here, but we're kind of seeing, that the increase in building fee will be kind of offset by the decrease in permitting. So we're seeing that kind of taper back down, or at least we have. We'll see what happens in 2025 if building takes off again. As you see here on the second bullet point, that the estimated number of permits has decreased. And expenses, there's a $3,800 increase here. 4,500 is increased in wages, and we have 1,000 for convention. And there's a few other areas where we've tapered back to get to that $3,800 increase. Policing. So this has been a pretty hot button topic since, I would say, we got our first official notice of what we thought the police bill was going to be. But this is the amended version, and for Councillor Watt that is on the call, for the amended version, Reeve Watt, the amended version takes into consideration the new, what we received today would be our police bill. So the province has come forward and said for 2025, they're willing to going to offset some of our increase. So now we'll see, instead of a 200, and I think it was 24,000 or whatever that number was, it was in the high twos or in the twos, 269. So it's somewhere in the, 269. We're now seeing an increase of about 47,000. 30 is due to the police contract, and 16,500 is due to the formation of a police services board, which we are mandated to implement, and that will be likely happening in 2025. So this part of the budget has seen an improvement since our whole deliberation. Lottery section of the revenue, or lottery section of the budget. So this is a pretty good news story for our budget. Delta Bingo is doing really well, and we just had a call with C Gaming, which is the group the provincial group that oversees them. I think that is getting back to pre-COVID numbers, and so we're seeing a benefit of that because we administer that and get a payment from the province. So this increase here in revenues is $55,000, which is good. It's hard to estimate, but we feel confident in our budgeted number. And then we don't have very many expenses in this section at all. I mean, it's pretty immaterial. In bylaw, we have a little bit of increase in revenue, and that's due to the proposed increased fees. And then again, in expenses, we've increased a little bit for investigation costs. We've seen that we've been doing, having some expenditures there. In emergency management, we're starting to allocate a portion of staff time to emergency management. Now we are recommending a $5,000 decrease to emergency response. What this line item is meant to be is if there, I mean, the one that comes to mind is a flood. So if a flood came in 2025 and the expenses for us to respond to that flood were more than $5,000, we would pull from our emergency management reserve. If we don't need the $5,000 at the end of the year, we get put into our emergency management reserve. And animal control, we're in revenue. This would be our pet licenses. We're bringing, again, these are kind of seeing a decline. So this is we're going to decrease our revenue here to be more in line with 2024 actual. And then there's a slight decrease also in expenditures. How does protection to person's property affect our levy? Well, we need to generate about $1.7 million from taxation to cover the services provided, and it's listed out here how that is 1.675 is made up. Planning and development. So here we have planning, development charges, and drainage. In revenue, we've increased very slightly due to our fee, potential fee increase. We do have, at least if you look from budget to budget, a $40,000 decrease in expenses. This is mainly to do is with our zoning and official plan. Last year we had a $40,000 line item budgeted there. This year we have 20, and then the CIP grant. It's confusing, but we've decreased the amount of expenses, but that's offset by a grant, what we have in the CIP reserve. But if you look from line item to line item, there'd be about a $40,000 budget, and that's decreased, and that's how it's made up. In development charges, we are intending to have a development charge study, and this would be funded from our development charge reserve fund. So you'll see a line item of $30,000 expenditure, but it's offset. It's not offset by taxation. It's offset by our reserve fund. In municipal drains, again, there's pretty immaterial part of our budget right now. And just, I know we have some drainage works going on in the community, but a lot of those expenses would be flow through. We'd pay for them and then bill back. So it doesn't really have an effect on our taxation. So here we're seeing a slight increase, and that's due to contracted services for some of those unrecoverable expenses that we would have. So this section here, we need to generate about $342,000 worth of taxation to pay for these services. Recreation and culture. In library, we're seeing about a $10,000 increase, and that's with our Pembroke Public Library contract, which we just entered into. So there's not really any other changes there. In the recreation section, in revenue, it looks like it's a large decrease of revenue, but 2024 revenue was a grant to offset, the majority of that was a grant to offset the active transportation plan. And then we were showing a donation line item for half of a capital project. So if you're looking from budget to budget, you wonder what happened, but it was revenue it's not revenue that's generated through user fees or anything. It was kind of couple special projects. In expenses, a $29,000 increase here. $3,500 is due to our wages. We do have $3,500 increase in our events, and there's about 9 or 10 potential events there. We have $1,500 decrease due to hosting our volunteer service awards at a rec center. But the big driver of this section of the budget is about an $81,000 increase to the city of Pembroke for a joint recreation agreement. So that line item would show $425,000 for the normal agreement that we pay to the city based on the amount of users that we have that use our facilities. And then we have budgeted a 1% levy increase here for our portion of the pool enhancements, which we did the same thing last year. We still aren't sure what that will be, but we're committed to 30% of the total cost, up to about $420,000. So we put a little bit of money last year for that, and again this year, as we know that invoice is coming. In parks, we have a slight decrease of, immaterial amount of 2,300 here. And they're just, if we went, the drivers are really at a couple of the park maintenance, where at some of the parks here to be in line with the 3-year average. And then the same thing with insurance to be in line with the 3-year average. Our grants to recreation associations, and I do include Mixburg here. I know it's not in the same vein, but no change recommended from 2024 to 2025. The total invoice or total amount that we will pay to our recreation associations is $116,700. In community development, there is an increase of about $50,000 here, a slight increase for that 1.6% on the wages. We have a $21,000 increase in our events. Some of that is driven by a proposed 25th anniversary celebration that we spoke about a few months ago. Slight decrease in our advertising. And then we have $13,250 increase in LV sponsorships, but that is consolidation of the community grant program. So it's increased there, but it's decreased in our recreation part of the budget. And staff are hoping to develop a more fair intake process with maybe 2 intakes per year, where groups can apply and then can be, scored and money, passed through that way. And then we do have a $10,000 commitment here for the community, for community trail maintenance, which is an agreement with the County of Renfrew. In LV grants to other section, we have an increase of $25,000. This is for our winter 2025 contribution to the Warming Center and a contribution to the Historical Society. So in recreation and culture, we need to generate about $1.3 million of taxation to pay for those services. In transportation, we have a decrease in revenue of $70,000. Our aggregate royalty, we're bringing it down to be more in line with our average. And then in rentals, we're anticipating losing about half a year at our Highway 41 garage. So that's a $30,000 hit to us. And then we were selling in 2024, had more equipment and to sell, which we don't in 2025. So about a $31,000 expected decrease there. And then our expenses have increased just under 60,000. Half of that is due to wages. We are seeing a very substantial increase in our debt servicing charges, but we have a very substantial decrease in our studies, as in 2024 we had our street scan done, which is not anticipated to do again in 2025. So that's kind of offset itself. I won't go through all of these line items here, but this is all of the other areas in transportation or public works and how they're split out. So in 2024, we had expenditure of about 1.5 million, and then or 1.513. In 2025, it's $81,500 more, which comes to just under 1.6. In our 2025 gravel road program, we've identified about 10.4 kilometers of gravel road, which are outlined here in this map. So SARS Lane, Darwa Road, Davers Road, Station Hill Road, and Maves Road, as outlined here. In our airport, just a very small increase to our contribution to the Pembroke and Area Airport Commission, which is an annual inflationary increase. So to pay for the transportation services, we need to generate about $3.1 million of tax from residents and property owners. In corporate management, this is revenue to corporate management, so it's not fair to attribute it to any one particular group. But we're hoping that we would have about a $20,000 increase in our student grants. We were successful last year, and we're hoping to be again. We've had a $32,000 increase in our OMPF funding, and then a $95,000 increase in other revenue, and that's driven by the cost of doing business agreements, which are based off the differential between city and township rates. So this is overall is good news for the taxation part of the budget. to the tune of about $1.5 million. So in putting all that together, this slide has changed from the original. We add all those up and compare it to last year, and for our operating tax that we need to generate, or tax to generate to pay for all of our operating, we need $5,922,400, which is an increase of just under $365,000. So for operating from year to year, so not effect on the levy, but operating from year to year is a 6.56% increase over last year. So the summary of how this works, if we really take out the key drivers, so in 2024, we pulled from reserve to offset increase in operating in our gravel program to the tune of $100,000. So if we pull that back out, if we take that effect out, our increase of policing now at just about $50,000, and then take out our increase in debt repayments, our increase would be about 2.3% over last year. So how those three areas make up the majority or the vast majority of how our operating budget is increased. So into our capital budget. So before we can even get really thinking about capital, we should understand how much funds we might have available. This slide calculates out that we have $150,000 of capital reinvestment, estimated capital reinvestment reserve fund before we get going. We are contributing $729,000 to our capital reinvestment reserve. We have about $554,000 of other capital reserves, our OCIF allocation and CCBF allocations, which are federal and provincial funding for capital. So we have about $2.1 million to fund before we look at taking capital levy, before we look at taking tax for capital. So some of the projects we've identified are server and switch updates of $50,000. This is, I think I've explained before, but this is a must do. Our server needs to be replaced, and it's a pretty important piece of equipment for the organization to keep running. We have an annual computer replacement of $10,000. That's regular cycle to replace out-of-date machines. In fire, a lot of these are safety pieces of equipment. So our blitz ground monitor, bunker gear, pagers and radio, stationware, and upgrade of some hose. In recreation, we have playground surfacing or playground resurfacing at Allison Fraser, front entrance modifications at LV Lodge, which is a accessibility issue. Same with the playground resurfacing. Upgrading our furnace and air conditioner and line painting at Shady Nook, and then exterior door replacement at Stafford Park. In public works, I'm going to culvert replacement of $120,000, storm drain improvements of $75,000, and active transportation updates of $225,000. And then just to go through the capital road program, we have Glen Street, Angle Street, and 3rd Avenue. And I'll just get this is estimated of $150,000. And we have Cemetery Road, which is a joint project with Township of Whitewater Region. It's 1.12 kilometers, and our estimated cost is $252,000. We have Robinson Road. Our estimated cost here is $506,250, and that's about 2.25 kilometers. We have Thrasher Lane, which is about 0.25 kilometers, and it's estimated about $56,000. We have Sandy Beach Road is 2.19 kilometers, and is estimated about $493,000. We have Pitt Road, 0.12 kilometers, an estimated cost of $27,000. We have Heenan Road, an estimated length of 1.36 kilometers at a cost of $306,000. And then we have the map, and it's all in is about 7.96 kilometers of road rehabilitation. So still having a substantial investment in our capital road program. And what that looks like here is a total of $1,791,000 of road work. Everything put together on the next slide is our, again, summarizes everything. It's $2,384,500. So when we go back to this funding formula, how we can do this, we start with how much we intend to how much we intend to do. We have our capital reinvestment reserve contribution this year of $729,000, our OCIF and CCBF. We have other capital reserves, and then we have a debenture. And when we do that math, we still need $344,500, which would be our capital levy. So what we have to generate from taxation for capital. So how that compares to last year is we take our operating levy, which we discussed, add in our contribution to capital reinvestment reserve, our contribution to other capital reserves, because we did increase another percentage point for the for capital reinvestment that we spoke about the last meeting. And we take that direction and we come up to a $7,445,661 levy compared to $6,831,752 last year, which is an increase of $391,745 or 5.73%. A breakdown of the to show year to year. Last year, the breakdown of taxation that was used towards capital was 19%. This year's 81. Sorry, it was 19%, and operating was 81. This year it's 18% for capital, 82% for operating. So slightly different, but very close. And again, to summarize, it's a $59 increase on the median assessed home. We have a $109,000 increase to our capital reserves for an estimated ending balance of $663,773. So all of them together, we have here a $387 increase for everyone's. That's the same slide from earlier that I showed. And then there are options. I guess call me Mr. Option. Seems every meeting I bring different options, but there are options. So we could, because we just received the news on the OPP, this why it changed today. So the first, I got my second column is as presented. Then we have, if we were to keep the OPP, the original OPP estimate in that 8.99, its effect on the median assessed home is $97 or $98. And then the tax rate increase would be 8.05. And the 4.82 should have a percentage point, my apologies. And then a third option would be if we were to take out of the 224 or whatever that savings is from the OPP, if we were to take 100 of that, keep into the budget, transfer to, operating reserve. Last year we took 100,000 out for gravel, and we don't know where the OPP is going. We know that they came out with a bill. They've come in. They're not changing the cost of the OPP. They're just changing how it's getting funded. So we're still funding, basically 1.4 of it. The province is funding 200,000 of it, at least for this year. We don't know where that's going in the future. So there's a risk there to where that might be, but I'll just let you stew on that. The different options as presented, this would be the increase for all, if you look at those bold line items, we're at 387 versus if we're to keep the OPP in, it'd be 426 versus if we were to take 100,000, it'd be 404. So the next steps will be the bylaws on December 17th. And I know that was a whirlwind to go through and a lot of numbers, but I will speak on just real quickly on the comments that I did receive. I did receive comments from 2 residents. The first one just noted that we're not committing anything to any environmental work, and I believe this revolves around work around water, and maybe relate to some stuff that maybe a conservation authority would be responsible for, because they do ask why there is no conservation authority. And then also spoke to that our animal control, we may want to look at having a full-time person there because the current service we offer, I guess, maybe hasn't been adequate in this particular person's opinion. So that was one. The second comment received was just around the exploration of a joint recreation facility that we noted in our press conference or press release. And this is that we've committed right now to join the city of Pembroke in figuring out what the area needs. So explain that to the resident and they seem satisfied with that. They were concerned about the contribution to the warming center, that felt that this maybe is not in the best interest of the taxpayers. And that sums up this person's concern. So I did respond to this particular residence explaining the history behind the warming center, and I got a favorable response back at this point. So with that, Mr. Mayor, I'll turn it to you for comments from the floor.
Okay, so I think first, is there anybody online, Laurie? No? Okay. Members of the public?
Yes.
Albert?
Yeah.
You are. If you could just state your name and address
For the record.
for the record,
Everybody should know me.
maybe not everybody.
Okay. Albert Krasinski, 9407 Round Lake Road. I'm going to, good evening, everyone. I'm going to start off by saying anything I say tonight, I say without prejudice. I don't want to ruffle any feathers, but if I do, it's only because I'm interested in the running of the township. And I'm sure every one of you are concerned about the yearly increase of property taxes. A rise of between 7 and 9% every year is unacceptable. Surely we can find more cost-saving measures. I could come up with a few, which I'd like to share with you today. Try to reduce the size of municipal government by eliminating the Reeves position. Most other townships have already done so. Downsize the use of consultants. I've been told over and over, many times, that the township hires the most competent people for the position to be filled and relies entirely on their expertise. If this is so, why do we need consultants? Number 3, in bygone years, the township roads were plowed the day of the snowfall. When the roads were completed, and on the second day, the township crew would then clean up the municipal parking lots and other municipal properties. At the present time, this is being tendered out. Why? Why are we granting $2,000 for the snow removal at the skiers clubhouse on Forest Lee Road? Another cost-saving measure could be eliminated. Why are we giving grants to other townships when they request them? Hold their taxes to 3% or less, and then consider giving these requests. Here's a good one. Cut out the MIFTIP program. That's the Managed Tax Incentive Program. This program is unduly burdening the taxes of other resident taxpayers who are not in the program. I've asked for this to be clarified in writing on paper a couple of years back. I didn't get any response. I did get a response, I'm sorry. They told me at the time it was too labor intensive. I don't go for that. And the last one I'll bother you with is, I read in the paper where if the township partners with the city of Pembroke for a sports complex, our share would be $49 million. That's today. If it's a couple of years from now, that'll be increased. We can't afford that. There's no way. That's all I have to say. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Albert. Anybody else from the public? Albert, we will take your comments under advisement. I'll clear one up for you. The reposition does not cost the municipality any extra money. The Councillor Reeve Watt that sits at the council table here is paid the same amount as all the other councillors at the table here. The difference being that the county pays him as Reeve at the county. So whether Reeve Watt is a councillor or Reeve, at this table he's a councillor, but we don't pay him any more to have the designation as Reeve at our table. So I just want to clear that up.
But we are paying for his position here in the township.
As a member of council.
As a member of the 6 members of council.
That's what I mean, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, other townships have done away with them, with one of the two positions.
Okay, maybe I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on it, and maybe we can have a chat as well. But if they eliminate it at other municipalities, then they've combined the job. So if you remember a while ago, when 10 years ago, when our Mayor Wilson, he was the mayor of the municipality, but he also represented Laurentian Valley County Council. Okay, so when we switched that, and I represent as mayor here, and Reeve Watt does it the county, there's no extra money changing hands. So we can't reduce by a councillor, but when we did that and split that job and Keith goes to the county instead, there's no extra cost to the municipality for that. Okay, the other questions, we can certainly look at Sean before we pass the budget 2 weeks from now.
Maybe just a comment, just a clarification on the City of Pembroke joint, the future pool recreation complex. The 49 million that was probably saw out there, because there's all kinds of numbers, that's the total cost of the project. So that wouldn't be Laurentian Valley's share. We haven't committed to any share. That would be the total project. And again, you're right. I think council's familiar with, it may cost to build that, but likely the two municipalities would not afford that. We would need some federal or provincial funding before that would ever take place.
What I read, Dean, was 98 million.
Yeah, no, well,
Half of that is 49.
Okay, so first of all, is your mic on?
yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
as Dean mentioned, there is no dollar amount. We've had one meeting with the city of Pembroke, 3 representatives from our township with 3 members and staff. There's been no dollars conversed at all as to what the costs will be or what we're going to present. What we've promised the taxpayer is that we as a group will look at every angle, turn over every rock to see what is the best scenario for the future of Pembroke and Laurentian Valley in a recreation facility. But there has been no dollars guaranteed, other than we will be hiring a consultant because of the magnitude of the job. We will spend some money on that, but other than that, there is no dollar numbers out there. So what you've read or heard is incorrect.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Okay.
But I did read that, yeah.
Good, okay. All right, so.
Sean, have anything else? Or council?
So council, with the change of the OPP, and to be honest with you, I just got that email yesterday with the reduction, or this morning,
Last night at 5 o'clock.
last night at 5 o'clock, is when we got the actual numbers. We knew it might be coming. The concern, as Sean has said to me and Dean, is that this year, that 224,000, the province is going to pay for. So we're paying the 1.4, the province is paying the 224,000. Our concern is next year. So we got to find that 224,000 next year and any other increase on top of that. So nobody really knows the answer yet because this is brand new. Brian.
So that is part of the new contract with the police, and part of that contract would probably be 3 years or 5 years. So do we know, are they going to be looking at another 3% on top of it next year, or is it COLA, or, because there'll be an increase of some sort again on top of
Typically
what we've seen.
Yeah, what we've seen in the past, but the concern is with a lot of treasure in Ontario right now is where's the 224 going to come next year? Because that's, if the province doesn't kick in the 224 next year, they're going to be hit with that next year, the 224, and any other increase.
Maybe just, and Sean can probably certainly say it, but we know the OPP costs are what it is, and it was a significant amount in the whole province. And it didn't, the cost did not reduce. The province picked up 77 million that they're donating or pushing back to the municipalities. But next year, are they going to pick up the 77 million? Because that cost is still going to be there. So somebody's paying for it. Either the province will continue to match the 77 million, or do they put it to 35 million, or are they going to give us nothing? So we got to, I think their point is here, we want to be in preparation. We should kind of be being prudent about it. So that's the decision to be made.
Wendy?
Yes, I know there is a huge increase for sure, but I don't believe the increase would be as much next year because The increase is larger this year because it was a retro pay back to the beginning of 2023, right? So next year, then it would be just next year's.
Right,
But there'll still be an increase, absolutely.
and there's still the 224 that we'd have to find next year if the province is gonna pay up again. Or, in the last sentence in the email I received, was they're gonna look at the future and see what plans could be out there. So we don't know. I kind of like the idea of, you know, we all went out there saying we got a 9% increase because over 4% is OPP and lack of funding, or decrease in funding. Maybe we should be going halfway in between and putting 100 aside into reserves in case we get hit with that big OPP bill next year. And if we don't get hit with that bill, then that increases that 100 that we took out of the levy stabilization for the gravel. So that's just my opinion, but I think the 7.2 is way better than 8.99. But, you know, if the province had said today, we'll cover the 224, well, then we could have reduced it even more. But it's still early, and you know, let's say we get another email next week and there's another formula out there. I doubt it's going to happen that fast. You know, the budget could still be changed, but let's hear from council on that.
Okay.
Keith?
Thank you, sir. Are the costs that Sean mentioned for the OPP, are the amount that they're going to contribute to it, is that final or are they estimates?
No, we did receive, the mayor received an official letter from the Solicitor General's office, I believe it's through the Solicitor General office, finalizing what our bill will be now. So that's incorporated into this amended version.
Okay, so I tend to lean towards the suggestion made by the mayor that we do add a little bit extra to try and provide a buffer for next year. Each year we know that the costs have been increasing. I think I remember reading in that paragraph that their OPP costs are going to go up 4.5% again next year. So there is going to be an increase there, and whoever knows, who knows what else is going to be covered in the costs for facilities or whatever. So that's my comment.
Okay. Other council, Brian?
No, during our discussions, we did talk about increasing 1% for recreation for everything coming, that's in there?
Yes, that's in the direction of the extra capital investment, percentage for capital investment and for recreation has been incorporated into this budget. And it's not, I think instead of 68, it's 62,000, just because we had more of the direction on what that final number was going to be, like that 899. So it's 62, not 68, but close enough.
Okay. Anybody else? Do we have?
So we just get consensus, I guess, Sean?
Yeah, because
we're moving forward with
the
whatever.
bylaws are, I'll bring a covering report with the bylaws at the next meeting, but I would need, some direction on which option, which door.
Okay. Wendy?
I would be in support of putting some in the operating reserves as well.
So the consensus is the 7.03.
Okay, thank you.
Now, unless you can get that 6.99, because that sounds way better than 7.0.
I think
Don't
we're
start.
past that.
Don't stir the treasurer.
But I guess I'll say just for if the media or whatever, that we are still, if there's still comments to be made, I would bring that as part of the covering report. Because I know we put it out just last week, so there's still 2 weeks before it gets passed. So it's not as if people still can't make comments. So I would still encourage people to call or, approach for comments.
Okay, thank you, Sean, again, for all your hard work. I know it's not the first time council has seen this, but I think it's very clear and understanding that we're, like many councils, it's an uphill battle with the dollars, so do the best we can with what we got. I guess we got a motion to come out of the
public
public meeting.
Yes,
Jennifer and Betty?
Moved by Councillor Gauthier, second by Councillor King, that the Council of Township of Laurentian Valley hereby declare the public meeting of December 3rd, 2024 be adjourned at 6:35.
All in favor? Okay. Okay, we've, Chief, we have the Fire Department report.
Sorry it was a little short this week.
Less money.
Wasn't 2 pages, I kept it down.
Why mine's not coming up?
Yeah, I kept it down to 1 page this month, so. A bit of luck.
Any questions for Tim? Seeing none, Tim, you got anything to add for us, or?
No, I don't think so. The 9831, the rescue vehicle, we got it finally back on the road today. It was about $4,500, I think it's gonna be once it's complete. We're on back on the road, so let's hope everything stays together and we get another year or 2 out of it, so. Anyway, other than that, no, it's about it.
Okay. Jennifer?
Number 13, or on the 13th, person has dropped their phone.
Oh,
What, I don't think I've ever seen something like this. They've dropped their phone and
Well,
then you have to go.
I'm glad you brought that up, because it's probably, I should have brought it up. This is something that's been happened about, we've had it 4 times now in the last 4 or 5 months, okay? What happens is if your phone is on top of your car, or it's somewhere, and you drive away, and your phone hits the road, it automatically, or hits a solid surface, it automatically calls 911, okay? So it comes into 911 as a crash, all right? So automatically the OPP, EMS, and the fire are sent to that area, okay? Now, we've had, I'm gonna say, I believe 4 now. 2 of them have been on Highway 41. There was one the other day on Round Lake Road. Actually, it was one on Round Lake Road. They sent Killaloe Fire Department, they sent us first. I called them and said, it's not our area, it's Killaloe's area. They sent Killaloe, they sent EMS, sent the OPP, and by the time they all got there, they realized the guy had dropped his phone, okay? So it's one of these, I don't know, it's one of the, I mean, what do you do? It's like an OnStar thing, but it's on your phone.
So if the phone is not visible, we are paying for OPP and fire and ambulance to search for
We're
this
paying
person's-
yeah.
I think what happens is that the concept of it is if you're in an accident, your phone happens to be in the car and it flips over and the phone flies, then automatically a call is
Yeah.
dispatched. So that's the real purpose of it.
Yeah.
So if there's like a catastrophic whack of your phone, they're figuring something's happened. You know, it's not dropping it on the ground here, but it has to be like severe kind of impact with your phone. So car flipped over or moved over, you know, you hit something, whatever, then it dispatches it goes to 911 and dispatches. Now, sometimes, yes, it's false alarm and they gotta go, but it's just one of them new things that is going out there where people are.
So in the 4 that you've received, they've all been false alarms.
Yeah. Well, that's,
So
yeah.
when we reach 150 of wasted money and time.
Well,
and-
it's basically, it's like the OnStar system that they had, that some cars have. You know, if they hit something, it calls in. And lots of times even those are just, you know, somebody runs into a post in the parking lot. But usually they can get a hold of them. But the problem is when it happens with a phone, the person has lost his phone. So when they call the phone number, they're not answering, okay? So they automatically, you expect the worst. And so, but yeah, that's what, if you were in a crash, you'd be grateful for it. But if
100%.
if you're just not being very intelligent with your phone, then that creates, a lot of expense for a lot of people.
Yeah. Throw it out to your husband, then you're gonna be in trouble.
Okay, Tim, it is December and it is
Yeah,
Christmas time and, I'm sorry?
Keith.
Oh, I'm sorry, Keith. No, I don't.
Thank you. Question for Tim. Is it a provincial mandate that the 3 services are dispatched to that call? I mean, I do have a problem with it, or can it be adjusted locally? I know some municipalities, I think down in Southern Ontario, they don't have that.
Don't have a what?
They don't have the 3 services going out to the call.
No, I know some of them don't. This was restarted. What happens is that with the EMS service, what we started with was brought in 3 or 4 years ago is that if EMS gets called, fire automatically gets called, okay? Just due to what's happening. I know it doesn't happen in all areas, but it does happen in Renfrew County, okay? And of course, the OPP are automatically called because it's something of that nature, but yeah. The problem is that it's you get into a time game, and we all know in an MVC the golden hour is still the golden hour. So if you wait till the other get on scene and then they can't get the people out, or it takes more time to get them out, well, now they call the fire department. Well, then you lose 15 to 20 minutes before you even get rolling. Okay, so that's why it was brought in. All right, but it's something that we did as a county. Yes.
So I read your reports, and there's a lot of calls. You go to vehicular collisions,
Yeah.
and you just turn around and leave, and that's it.
We never turn around and leave.
There's no extrication. Okay.
There's not always extrication, but we do help the EMS with the patient many times. Okay, many times. The problem is you got a vehicle now that's been in a collision, and with today with electronics and things, we go over the vehicles and make sure that no fires get started, so that we secure the scene is basically what we do. Okay, and once the patients are gone, then we wait until the things, and we clean up all the spills and that kind of stuff. It's all part of our mandate.
Okay, I guess it's learning and process then.
Pardon me?
I say, I guess it's learning and process for me then.
Yeah, it's been added to the process because it's I don't know. And there's lots of reasons behind it, but it's just yeah.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else for Tim? Dean? No? Okay, so Tim, please wish your staff Merry Christmas and safe, and
Thank you.
hopefully they don't get called out, and
Yeah.
everybody stays home and stays safe.
Yeah, we all hope so.
Okay.
Everybody take care.
Thank you. Okay, Kinsman Pool Repairs update?
Basically, this is just information. It's just a note stating about the rehabilitation of the pool. So it's not, there's nothing really there to, but we're excited to kind of get it unveiled and start use again for the community. So that's just an announcement.
Hopefully sometime in January, you might see it open. It'd be great. I'm sure a lot of people are looking forward to it. Festival Hall.
We had a meeting, and I believe I'll let Chris speak to it.
Yeah, that's a little, there is an item on the, maybe just, Betty, if there's anything else, we'll be dealing with the actual contract, come a little later there, so maybe we'll let.
Yeah, nothing at this moment. We have had meetings, but it all has dealt with the contract up to this point.
Yeah, okay, so that's a little later in the meeting.
Pembroke Library.
We had a meeting a couple of weeks ago to discuss the budget for the upcoming year. The city isn't as far along as we are yet, so it's just a proposed budget at this point, and they are looking at increases. The city had a pay equity analysis done last year, so there were pay increases to staff, so that will affect the budget. So they are looking at an increase, but nothing has been passed or anything yet.
Okay. Okay, no planning meeting. We have a motion for the extended draft plan approval for Laurentian Meadows.
Yes, there is a motion there, yeah.
Jennifer and Brian?
Moved by Councillor Gauthier, second by Councillor Ugly, that the council supports the request for an extension to draft plan approval from January 7, 2025 to January 7, 2026, and request the county revenue grant the application request to approve an extension to draft plan approval for subdivision file 47T 14,001 Laurentian Meadows subdivision.
All in favor? Carried. Another motion to appoint members to the Township of Laurentian Valley Committee of Adjustment for 2025.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Betty and Wendy.
Moved by Councillor King, second by Councillor Hewitt, that the council pass bylaws as presented to appoint all members of council to the Township of Laurentian Valley as members of the Township of Laurentian Valley Committee of Adjustment for 2025 and forward bylaw to the bylaw portion of December 17, 2024, regular council meeting for passing.
All in favor? Carried. Okay, subcommittees, Pembroke Canary Airport, I guess Alan's not here. Emergency Management, I know we have a meeting coming up next week.
There's an exercise on the 13th of December, yeah.
Okay, subcommittees, Ottawa Valley Waste. So I asked Laurie to put in the agenda the blue box transition, so I think it's pretty self-explanatory and really kind of gives information on where we're going from there. Basically, it's going to be operating as regular, but it'll just be a change. It was kind of, we had a meeting last week, and it was kind of a sad day for the senior staff because, you know, they had some layoffs effective on Friday. But as it notes in here, things have changed, you know. We opened up that MRF in 2001, and 23 years later, and now it's a transfer station, so. Anyway, so that's there. We're still working with the ministry on leachate system and keep you updated on that. We did pass our budget with 0 contributions from the partners this year as well. Okay, report motion, Festival Hall. Chris, please.
Good evening, Council. So we've been since September with the announcement of Rick Wharton's retirement. We have been working with our 3 partners, City of Pembroke and the Town of Petawawa, to basically go through an RFP process for a new director of Festival Hall, as well as the hiring process. And so we have completed that process, and now we're at the point where we're recommending a new director. So everything is there kind of on the history of how everything went through and the process as set up through the City of Pembroke. And now the last thing to do is basically move forward with the agreement. And that would be my recommendation that we, Community Development, Recreation, and Culture Committee, enter an agreement between the consortium of municipal councils in the City of Pembroke, Township of Laurentian Valley, Town of Petawawa, and Kitchissippi Productions Incorporated to provide the management services for the operation of Festival Hall at L'Equinox for the period of January 1st, 2025 to December 31st, 2027, and forward bylaw 2, 2024-12-060 as presented by the bylaw portion of the regular council meeting of December 17th, 2024 for enactment.
Any questions? So the new company is?
Kitchissippi by Dorian Pierce.
Okay. Okay, motion?
Yeah.
Jennifer? Wendy?
Moved by Councillor Goche, second by Councillor Hewitt, that the Community Development Recreation Committee recommends the council to enter into agreement between the consortium of municipal council of City of Pembroke, Township of Laurentian Valley, Town of Petawawa, as a consortium, and Kitchissippi Productions, Inc., to provide management service for the operation of Festival Hall at the Equinox for the period of January 1st, 2025 to December 31st, 2027, and forward bylaw 2024-12-060, as presented to a bylaw portion of the regular council meeting of December 17th, 2024 for enactment.
All in favor? Carried. Good work, Chris and Betty, and the transition hopefully goes well, and we'll see how it goes for 2025.
Okay.
And now you're up.
Okay, well, hello again. So this is just my report for November. It's been another busy month. You can see there everything's kind of laid out. Just some of the highlights, let's go very quickly, was obviously Festival Hall, which was a big undertaking. The Housing Enabling Water System Fund, which we've scaled down our ask for this to focus on a pumping station and backup generator system for the Highway 148 rehabilitation services in the areas currently needing it and as well as future developments. So that was a big team effort to kind of bring everybody together to scale that down and kind of hit that second intake. And then with Taste of the Valley, which is, we're not 100% confirmed. They were just kind of coming out to check out the facility, but everything went really well. We're hoping it's kind of the first step in, if we do get that, to bringing more people to that venue, because it is an excellent venue for hosting big events. And so everything went really well. They were satisfied that it could meet the needs of what they're looking for. And now they will now be going back, deliberating, and basically deciding whether or not they're going to use our proposal for the next 2 years for Taste of the Valley. And like I said, everything else is laid out there. I won't go through everything, but that is my report.
Jennifer?
Good luck on your exam.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Yeah, that's this week, so.
So Chris, when you do Taste of the Valley, it's always 2 years?
So Taste of the Valley, my apologies. So the intake period is 2 years. You're allowed to apply for one Taste of the Valley per that 2 year section. Okay. So they would have, I believe, 5 or 6 in a year. And then it goes in 2 year increments, so that we applied for 2025 and then we could have applied for 2026, but we stuck with 2025. And then you're allowed to put one proposal in that 2 year just to keep it fair, and then they kind of cycle them around. But there are quite a bit of needs in that. I believe earlier I had sent my proposal through where you detail everything from the electrical to the Wi-Fi to flow of traffic. But that site, as everyone well knows, is used to getting a lot of traffic and having a lot of things going on there. So it is a very good facility for that. So fingers crossed that that will go through and translate to Taste of the Valley here in Laurentian Valley for 2025.
That's great. Anybody else have any questions? I know we discussed earlier our anniversary, but we'll leave that for another day for you.
Okay.
Okay, thanks for, oh, Wendy, sorry.
Not a question, just more of a comment. You're doing a really good job with the newsletters,
Thanks.
because I've heard a lot of positive feedback on them.
That's good. I really
Very good.
appreciate that. Yeah, we keep getting uptake. We actually tried our first time doing a direct email about the budget, which got response as well. So we're going to try some new things because it's a very good tool to get direct access to our residents.
And maybe just keep that in mind, Councillor Hewitt, when you see this week's last page of the newsletter. You may not think so much of it after that, but anyway, just a thought, just a comment. I'll leave it at that.
It's a call to action.
It's all great.
Okay, thanks very much, Chris.
You're welcome.
For recreation, I don't think Nevada's with us.
Yeah, no, I guess I'm just going to flag a couple of things for her. She just couldn't attend today. So obviously, hopefully people, we do have a volunteer appreciation party coming next Thursday night where we're going to be doing it at Shady Nook, and all the volunteers are asked to drop by and get some snacks and a little token of our appreciation. Hopefully, I don't know if everybody got a chance to get out to the parade in Pembroke, and the float was well done, in my opinion. It was great. I know Nevada and Chris put some time in, and we got Shane to drive it, so we certainly are thankful for all of that. It turned out really good. It was a great parade, and our floats were very well done. And then we are doing the Deck the Halls Community Showdown, which is going out between the city of Pembroke and Laurentian Valley to decorate your house and enter the contest. So encourage all the residents that are interested to register and participate in this festive mood kind of thing. So, and then Nevada does put her coordinators activities for October. So that's her report.
Okay, great. I know there's a big crowd for the parade on Saturday night, and I thought ours looked very good as well.
Yeah.
So, all right, thank you. Down subcommittees, Friends of the Disabled.
Nothing new to report this month. We are having our AGM in the new year.
Okay, Shady Nook.
Meeting next week, just waiting for some snow and some cold temperatures to get some ice in.
Allison Fraser.
We've got our kids' Christmas party coming up this Sunday. We are also planning or starting the plans for our Winter Carnival, third week of January. So stuff will start coming out for that shortly. And again, we're waiting for the ice too, so.
Okay, Forest Lee, Keith, I think.
Nothing to report.
Pleasant View, probably the same.
Nothing to report.
Stafford?
Nothing to report.
Nothing. Four Seasons, Mark? Nothing right now?
No, I think same thing, just waiting for weather and starting to make ice soon. We're kind of getting the trail ready and it looks favorable the next couple of weeks to get started. So fingers crossed it's a bit earlier season for all the outdoor rinks this year.
Yes, hopefully. And Fit and Feisty, Keith?
Again, nothing to report.
Okay. And then we have County Council summary for November. Do you have any questions for Keith? Or Keith, anything you want to bring up?
The only thing to add to that is that next Tuesday, December the 10th, there's an election on for the warden. The current warden, Reeve Emo, is running for the warden again, and there's another contestant, Rob Weir from Greater Madawaska. So that's the highlight, I guess, of that meeting, and that's a week away. Starts at 10 o'clock.
I'll be there, Keith, to bring greetings from Laurentian Valley to the successful candidate.
Good.
Okay, council acknowledgements. Jennifer.
I just wanted to acknowledge that tonight is Councillor Hoogley's birthday.
Oh.
So happy birthday from all of council.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Brian.
Happy birthday, Brian.
Anything else? Okay, adjournment. Jennifer and Betty.
Moved by Councillor Gauthier, second by Councillor King, that the council and committee meeting of December 3rd, 2024 be adjourned at 7 p.m.
All in favor? Carried. And good night. Thank you, everyone.
Good night.